when the rest of this money could come available this year, I think this is not the time to shift horses, so I would be in favor of continuing it for at least one more year.
Steve, do you need any comments?
How much is it going to cost us again to continue?
90,000. It's basically a one-year contract. We'll be at this same point next year in January. And just like we did with Retail Concepts, I think it's, at that point, it's not a 5-year commitment. We do it 1 year at a time. We see what has come to the table, and if we feel like it's not been worthwhile, we end our contract.
How often are we getting updates from him? And
We get them about once every 2 weeks, and Grayson usually would forward those out to us if they had anything in them. Sometimes when, Congress is not in session, there's not a lot there. Sometimes it relates to other things that are going on, as to, I got one just 2 days ago, and I've had him start sending those to me in the interim, but it was a update based on when they were going to go back to work, what was going on, and then the week-long shutdown because of the shooting of the representative in Arizona. And normally we'll reshoot those out to the people on the council, make them available. Any comments by anyone in the audience regarding this particular item? Mark.
Mr. Mayor, Mark Henderson, I'm in Ward 2. I would rise in support of the action item. Years ago, when this came up, and we moved to engage the services of this organization, we had several years of conversation with Senator Inhofe about getting a new emergency building over on this corner so that we could do a lot of work. Now, it never came to fruition, and part of that's because money changes hands and it's hard for legislators to get everything they want to get. However, this was what we targeted with engaging this operation, and we got what we asked for and a little more than I think I anticipated. I think as many people come to legislators to ask for money, it behooves you to have someone who's professionally, this is what they do for a living. I think they can get us more money than we can get on our own. The only question I have, the only caveat that came to my mind was the new city manager. Working with with someone who does this for a living, they're probably only as effective as your communication with them. And is our new city manager interested in working with capital decisions to make sure that we communicate our needs to Washington? And if he is, I would rise in support of this action item.
And I would not speak for Steve. I think that's something he's going to have to address, but we did have conversations, and it was a very straightforward conversation. He said, are we ahead in the game? Have we received more money than it's cost us to hire him? And I told him I felt like we had, and I felt like we hadn't seen the full effect yet. So his attitude was, if that's the case, we continue what we're doing. And I think he has, Don has some contacts and ability that I don't have. And I think when you talk about J.R. Reskovac and capital decisions, one of the things that I've been impressed with is they are with these guys day to day. He mentioned the story. I know Don has known Congressman Lucas for a long time, but on the day of the Murrow bombing, J.R. was actually in Dallas in a meeting with the congressman. So they have a long, long history together. And I think he is trusted. He doesn't bring junk to the congressman. I don't think he brings junk to the senator. I think we're in good stead when he recommends our programs, and look forward to see what he can get. We had mentioned to him, as you said, this is things we're interested in. On the flip side, we also mentioned to him that one of our problems was flood control. We had some problems when it rains heavy. So, that is one that he feels like some money's coming up on. So appreciate the comments. Any other question or comment from anyone in the audience?
Mayor,
Paul Brown?
is there any way to table this for 30 days and maybe get this JR here at a council meeting? So,
I don't know that it really does anything. I mean,
we can see him eyeball to eyeball.
he's
and
been here. He's been here a couple of times. It's just not when you were present. I don't see any reason to table it. I mean, we're either going to vote it. Part of the problem is our contract ends with him. And it's, you know, it's one of those situations where he was here, Bob, you sat down with him 2 weeks ago? And I had an appointment that day, couldn't make it. Grayson and Bob sat down and talked with him, and he spent the morning with our previous city manager, so.
Did he give us updates and his projections on next year, what he's gonna do and how he's gonna do it? And
I don't know about how he's gonna do it. We have $400,000 already in the transportation budget, that's pretty straightforward. He believes that there is money coming available for flood control. He has talked about the different, I don't know the names of the groups, but they have money coming into that area that they want to try to address some of the problems in the United States, and he feels like that we have some opportunities in that area. So as far as updates, he talks to Grayson. I know he talked to Grayson when he was our city manager, usually at least 2 to 3 times a week to give him updates on what the status was. I talked to him today, just in passing. I talked to him Thursday. So, I mean, he's very available. He's one of those guys, I called him, he called me back within a couple of minutes. So, I understand what you're saying about,
I would, at the very least, get a hold of our new city manager and maybe have him have a conversation with JR to say his thoughts on it.
I think JR was more excited to have a conversation with our new city manager. He was aware of some of the work that Steve has done as far as, you know, Steve's pretty much had to do that for the city of
So he's
Greensboro.
already done that?
He has done a lot of that. In fact,
Well, has he talked to our new city?
no, he's not talked to our new city manager. No, and until he comes on, I don't know that that would be appropriate until he takes the reins of the city. I think he's trying to close out Greensboro, Kansas right now. I know I talked to him, what is today, Tuesday? I think I talked to him yesterday, Friday, and he has the same problem I think Grayson had at the end, trying to get all the loose ends tied up. But fully understand what you're saying. I just don't know him being here. I'd be glad to get him here, you know, for one of our future meetings so that people can meet him and talk to him. But I don't know that this contract decision is something that we need to put on the back burner so that we can eyeball him. We eyeballed him 2 weeks ago. Any other questions or comments regarding this particular item?
Got a question.
Yes, Mr. Hoffman.
Is this a decision that has to be made tonight?
I think for a contract, as far as that goes, it's one of those decisions, it's the business of the city. I mean, if we have a good reason to push it back, we have taken the attitude over the last 7 years that if there's a reason to push it back, if we don't have all the information, if there is a feeling that we need to, then we do that. If we have the information and we're ready to make a decision, that's what we've tried to go with.
If you table this until the February 1st meeting, do you think he's going to turn down a $9,000 contract?
I don't think that's the point, Mr. Hoffman. You
Yeah,
asked me.
Yeah, that is the point. I think I agree with Paul, and I agree with Mark. I think that the city manager ought to be in on this decision.
I think the city manager has been in on this
He's not a
decision.
city manager yet. You just said that.
No.
You said it would be inappropriate.
I discussed it with him. It would be inappropriate for him to call JR. He has his
I
own,
think he ought to
I
be
think
in.
he's covered up. I mean, he's not sitting in Greensburg, Kansas.
I don't understand why the urgency. It seems like this city council always does things in a crisis type management.
You may be the only one that sees the crisis, Mr. Hoffman.
You said. the
This is
guy-
business.
You said the guy was here 2 weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
I didn't see anything in the paper about it. You know, maybe some of us would have come to. a
Some of
meeting.
us don't do our business in the paper.
Maybe
If,
you should.
Maybe
You should, because the
Rod?
council doesn't talk to us.
the council does talk to you, anytime you want to call me, Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah, I hear that. I've heard.
Mr. Hoffman, when you had a meeting, did I attend your meeting?
Only because Bob Marson insisted. Only because.
Mr.
I
Marsh?
didn't insist.
You did. You told me.
Mr. Hoffman?
You told me you would not.
Do not insult me like that. I was kind enough to come to your meeting because I wanted to be there. I tried to be respectful, and that is not even fair, and you know it. I think this is business of the council. I see the reasons I understand what you're saying about delay. I see no reason to delay the contract. What is going to change between now and 2 weeks from now? Is there any information, does the council require any information that we do not have? That's, I guess, the bottom line. That a delay would assist us in. I mean, I don't know that I would call this, it's been on the agenda now since we placed it. Crisis management? I don't think so. It's taking care of the regular business of the city. Any other questions or comments from anyone in the audience? Not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion. Please make it in the affirmative or the negative.
I make a motion, we approve the contract for one more year.
I second it.
Trustee Marcy?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Rudolph?
No.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. Moving on to the mayor's report, I'll give you a couple of items. With Grayson gone, I've changed this to the mayor's report just so we can try to keep, normally he would, and with us not having a city manager. Last week, we were fortunate enough to get a sit-down with Senator Bingman. We expressed to him our concerns about the detention center and the way the decisions were made. He was very kind, did not promise anything, which I wouldn't have expected him to, but he was very kind to take the time to sit down and hear our concerns. He did say that there was going to be a meeting with the representative, the Speaker of the House, and that would take place later that day or the next day. From what I understand, that did take place. The Speaker has asked for a hold on the contract, and at this point they're reviewing whether or not the actual law that was passed that authorized what has taken place has been adhered to from a standpoint of they authorize a certain number of high security beds. This is a minimum security academy. So that is being reviewed. I have no feeling one way or another. Bob, you'd ask us about an update on what we had spent. I've mentioned over and over again, I know probably people take it with a grain of salt, that we were not spending any money out of the city's coffers to do this until we realized we had something. We spent less than $100 in actual funds, that's meals, mileage, those kind of things, and we have spent $2,500 is on retainer. $700 of that has been used. So we have $1,800 still on retainer with the legal firm. So personally, I've made 12 to 15 trips to the city. I've not asked for reimbursement. That's just part of being mayor. I know that's one of those things. But our partners, our people, our stakeholders that we've worked with are probably out somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 for the work they've done. But we are not liable for that, and that is what they've done on their own. So we're out $700, just under $800 total for the entire thing.
You know, what you're thinking if the speaker, if they determine the contract was not proper, is not proper.
Go through the procedure, let the law firm in the city protest it. At that point, whatever the administrative judge comes up with, if he puts it back, we'll see where we go at that point. If he approves the contract, as I would anticipate, most administrative judges don't. You know, it's a fine point of law, and I'm not a lawyer. I'm an accountant. But if he agrees that it was done properly, it's a dead issue. I don't anticipate the city having any more. We're not going to put good money after, So at that point, I would anticipate, unless there's a different thought by the council, I'm not a big fan of, I don't think you gain anything. You had mentioned suing the state doesn't pay off, and I think that's, you use your administrative appeals, and once they're done, you're done. So that will play out in front of us. Open bids this afternoon on the roof, the windows and everything, and we'll have that updated for you at the next council meeting. And maybe we can even get Jody Hall here.
Open bids on what?
The roof replacement and also doors and windows
Of this building.
of this building. Yes, sir. We continue to, we've done air conditioning and lighting. So we've continued, new generator, we've continued to try to upgrade the facility as we can go through it financially as we've got the money in our budget.
We don't open bids at council meetings?
That was, I think that was essentially, what was that?
We have a contract with Jody Hall,
Yeah, Jody Hall
and he did the bid opening, and then he will do the tabulation sheet and provide.
provided to us, so we will make the decision.